but I kind of want to circle back to when you guys submitted it. If you remember, I went back to you with a question, which was, are you legally allowed to make this film?
It's a common question. I think our lawyer is here. Chris Perez, are you in the audience? Stand up! Stand up! That's the guy! So, this group of filmmakers have been working with Chris Perez since our first film, and he is, I won't say how we do everything, but he's the reason that we were able to make the show, all of our movies, and especially this movie. And now he's basically a part of our creative team. So, are we legally allowed to make this movie? You know what? We'll have to ask Chris. We screened it. What did you say? Yes, of course. We try to make it, we're really good little boys, and I think we try to make it seem like it's worse than it is, but the truth is, we're not doing anything too risky. Let me give it just a quick second to introduce the team that made this film. Kurt Laub is the editor, along with Bobby Upchurch. Put up here, yeah, get together. A painful job, I will tell you. An extremely painful job. Jared Rabb, everybody already knows, is the third star of the film. He's been the cinematographer of one of the bands since the very beginning. Matt Miller, the producer, really the adult of this. And Matt Grayson, the real shovel shit on him producer. The producer who's with us when we're filming, who talks to the cops, who talks to the CN Tower security the 8th time we've been there and says, no, you've never actually seen us before. This is a different bachelor party video. Tristan Zarafa, the head of VFX, he didn't... Thank God there's no VFX in this movie, but he wanted to come and be on stage with us. And then Carrie Noonan, who is our production designer, which maybe you think, what production design is even in this movie? He built that RV. Like, he built everything you see. He designed and built, all of that stuff actually worked. When we were running the cable from the CN Tower, he was figuring out how all that was going to work.
Our old apartment, too.
Our old apartment, built from scratch. So, again, what does Dolly Parton say? It takes a lot of work to look this cheap. Anyway, we should get to questions, because I'm sure people have a lot of them, and you can feel free to ask us anything. So, we can start right with you in the front. Is there more to this movie? You're wondering if, like, there's... Right, well, we get asked about season 3 a lot. All we'll say is that making this film was sort of our attempt to try to find a place to launch season 3. I'll give you a little clue too about this movie. Although everybody's filming this, man, these Q&As have changed since 2013. I will say that in season 3, get ready to watch this movie as a single episode without the time travel. And it will blow your mind when you see what it is. Just don't ever repeat that or post this video. A little clue, yeah.
See one up there, right?
Yeah, I read something online. You have to, it's the internet. But I read that you pretty much I love BlackBerry, but you pretty much made BlackBerry so you guys could make this.
Right.
Would you say this was kind of like you and Jay's kind of passion project? Everything kind of led to this. You really wanted to make this.
I think for this whole team, we were struggling with the market reality of pitching somebody a movie like this, and we didn't expect BlackBerry to do as well as it did, and we're all from Toronto in Canada, and what we did was, yes, isn't it great? Yeah, what an advertisement for the city. I think what happened was we finished BlackBerry, and the Canadian government, I got to give them a huge shout out here, they were like, all right, well now you can make whatever movie you want. And I said, really? And they were like, this is not a joke. And they said yes, and we'll pay for the whole thing. And so we all got together and said, why don't we make a Nirvana the Band movie? It's probably the only chance we'll ever get in our lives. And so we did it. There's no outside financing. This movie was literally brought to you by the government of Canada. Wonderful. I should add that Elevation Pictures, which is the Canadian, the big Canadian distributor, also completely had our back. And well, when I say had our back, I mean they let us do literally whatever we wanted, and they gave us no notes. They're the best. They distributed all of our films in Canada. I think they're here too. They're the part that comes at the beginning of the film. So the answer is yes. Yes, right there.
After you got picked up, most of it was shot. As you were going, was there any like current events, or as you were editing it, like we need to add this right now, this would be hilarious?
Okay, I'll tell you one amazing one. So Jared, Matt Grayson, Jay, and I. Who else was there when we were shooting that? It was the four of them, and Nikolai, the other shooter, and Luca are both here. Well, they also have big cameos in the film. Yeah. So I'll tell you a crazy story. We're shooting that scene where Jay's on Roz and Mocha, okay? And they're like the Toronto DJs. And then on the news, at that moment, there has been a shooting at Drake's mansion. Somebody was just shot. We all got in the car, drove to Drake's mansion, and shot the scene that you see in the movie. We had no idea what we'd use it for. We were like, all right, so Jay did something, he shot the guy at Drake's mansion, we don't know. And then from that backwards, we were like, wait a minute, let's have Jay be the person who shoots the guy outside Drake's mansion. And so that entire news reel that you see is completely legit. Like that was on the news in Toronto, except it was during the Kendrick Drake beef. Oh yeah. We went in fearlessly. Do you remember what we told the cops when they were like, you can't come in here? Jay was wearing a suit, and so he looked kind of professional. What did you say to them?
Well, we said we're press. We're like, well, where's your credentials? And we said, well, we're independent. And they said, oh, well, just go right on.
And the other news people are watching us. Jared, his camera is facing the other way.
The chief of police is watching us, and we're doing take after take of me running down the street. And they think maybe, is this dangerous? But then I stop, and I come back.
And we would talk.
We talk to them.
I wasn't in the scene with Jay Razamoka, so I'm wearing sweatpants and a Blue Jay hat, and I'm talking to the reporters while they're getting the interviews with the people. I'm like, I'm really sorry. I need you to move a little bit. Just a little bit like that.
Yeah.
Yo, that's true. I mean, in fact, if you look at CP24's archive, you can see not only the footage of what they did, but me, Jay, Jared, and Grayson running around like idiots in the background trying to film this scene. So that's one good example, but they happened all the time. Like the perfect one is that amazing libertarian we meet at Canadian Tire who was trying so hard to help us because he was like, you didn't see it. We talked to him for 20 minutes. He's like, you're gonna die. You don't understand. They're gonna shut down the CN Tower forever if you do this. And then he wound up being the end of the movie. Yes,
That's more people.
right there.
When you cut to the old footage of you guys, was that entirely old footage that you didn't use, or like, was any of it maybe deep faked?
I'll give the mic to Kurt and Bobby because they designed that whole sequence.
So most people maybe know that this was a web show back in 2008, and which I had no part of. But we got the job of looking through hours and hours. I'm not sure the exact amount of footage. A lot that made it into the show, but a lot that didn't. So I think like 3 months of being like, maybe not that long. Don't tell Miller. 2 months maybe, but of a lot of looking through footage and trying to figure out how we could build the story based on what we had. And at one point that sequence was probably 3 times as long. But it boiled down to the best version, at least that's what we thought. But there's a ton of stuff in there that's just tricks where we're shooting. Well, maybe I shouldn't. Should I tell? How much should I tell?
Well, I think the question was if we used AI. No.
No.
Well, you were able to find.
The Hungarian stuff, we fixed it.
So VFX.
They were able to find some stuff that like they were picking little moments that had talking about time or some sort of on theme clips, and then through those puzzle pieces, we started to write the story using those. And so that was really me talking about turning on like the news and watching H1N1 virus and talking about my dying grandmother and time. And so they just ended up finding that. I don't even remember what we shot that for. It was just some outtake. But working backwards from that, we just threw it in there and it worked.
All right, we got time for like 2 more questions.
Yeah, how about that guy right there? Yeah. For the love of all that is holy, please release this film.
If you want it released, you're gonna have to beat the drum loud online so
I was just
everyone
saying,
knows to come buy this film.
You're talking. We are the people who release movies.
Or you're gonna have to come to Canada where it will be released, but we hope it will get released down here. That's our plan.
Yeah.
So,
Elevation. The film is going to be in theaters in Canada. So if you guys want to see it again, it's not that far. We should have some questions from the way back. There's like somebody wearing a hat there. Oh, are you dressed like me?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
What was the hardest scene for you guys to film?
We'll probably all have, the question was the hardest scene to film. We'll probably all have different answers. I know 100% what mine is. It is when I had to jump off the streetcar and then off of that thing. And it looks simple, but what I had to do was get onto the streetcar with a parachute on my back, jump off the streetcar, and this is, by the way, all completely illegal. Like, I shouldn't say, sorry, press. I don't mean illegal. I mean, nobody knew we were doing it. And so I need to climb up there. Malcolm, who's right in front of you, that is Malcolm, the art director of the film.
we should take a second. About half of our crew, the other half of the people who made this move with us, are sitting in those first couple
You
rows.
guys,
So
maybe
if
stand up and
you're-
take a bow.
You're
Stand
gonna-
up, please.
We love you guys.
So Malcolm is holding a ladder for me. Every single time there's a new streetcar, I've got to climb up there. We're shooting this in January. It's -20 in Toronto. You know what I'm wearing. And it's not like you shoot it once and then it's done. Jared has to actually be hidden in the streetcar, and we're trying to time it with no way of communicating with one another. And we shut that thing
And
like,
we didn't have any control of the streetcar, so I had to catch the streetcar
as a civilian.
blocks away every time, and we were racing back to catch the next streetcar. So each take took a full streetcar, which you've ever waited for a streetcar in Toronto, you know. We were there all night. But yeah,
And then I had to run across that whatever it was, the plexiglass roof in front of all these people who are like, well, this person's just insane, I'm calling the police. And then jump off and then run through traffic. And this was the night of the Taylor Swift concert. And the reason we did it that night was because we were like, oh, there won't be enough cops to come get us. Because they'll all be dealing with the mayhem of the concert. This is how our producers think. And so we did it over and over and over, and it was horrible. But I wouldn't change a thing.
But also that whole sequence is VFX.
Do you have a worse thing? The hardest thing for you?
Just driving that RV around and acting and trying to act like I'm in an action scene, and I'm driving on the real road legally, but on the level of safety.
It's a whole other added element of like, okay, you're gonna make a movie, but you're gonna make it in the real world. Nobody knows you're making it. Everybody other than us are real, and we have to just deal with what we get. And it makes the simplest things so complicated. But again, we made this movie for 2 years. We shot it probably 3 times, and yeah, we're very happy with how it turned out. We better ask one more, Pete.
One final question. Here we go, right here.
The whole movie is an incredible magic trick, just a perfectly designed puzzle. And so how do you piece that together when you're kind of writing it as you go?
Well, the trick with Nirvana the band, and I would say a lot of our films, is that we don't piece it together as we go. We come up with a big structure, and normally Kurt and Bobby will be like, okay, this is what we think the movie could be, and then we go in and we keep changing it. I'm trying to think of like a good analogy, but it's not like we come up with something and then that completely changes the whole film. We have an idea of what we want, and then we just keep replacing the stuff that we didn't like. Like when Peter saw the film, he did see this movie, but I wasn't kidding when I said that we reshot at least 50% of it, because it's so, like the building blocks are fun, but for us, I think our standards are just at a place where even though it seems like a really cheap documentary, and it seems like we don't care, and it seems like it just happens randomly, this group of people on this stage, like we fight for hours over literally every single piece of it to try to make it as most fun for us as we can. And that process, yeah, I wish that it was as easy to shoot as it looked, because then we'd be making one of these a month, and it would be fucking wicked. But unfortunately, this is like the most difficult process.
I'll say too that we have a story, and we have a whole structure. But as we're going, everybody on this team, when we're working together, it's not like, you know, the cameraman or our producers aren't able to just sort of pitch ways of connecting story pieces together to make it tighter and to make it more interesting. And so, like, everybody on here is like a writer, so that's what makes it very, very special.
It is a very, very special movie. We are unfortunately out of time, but please give it up for Nirvana the band.